What you know, alibis? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. It's Wednesday, June 11th. Hope you guys have had a good day so far. We had our last witness testify today, and then we went into closing arguments. Once the jury got the case, I ran downstairs to do an update video for YouTube. And as soon as I got to the part where I said, I think we have a verdict by the end of the day, I got an alert. The jury chose to go home and they'll come back and start fresh tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So keep an eye out on my socials. Also, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, go hit subscribe. And if you want notifications of when I post new content, just click that little bell icon. As soon as it's announced we have a verdict, I will update everything, and then we have 20 to 25 minutes to get back to the courthouse before it's read. My plan tomorrow is to get there early and stay until we have a verdict, hopefully tomorrow, and this is all finished. Let's jump into the last witness testimony. That is FBI Special Agent Nick Ballance. He came on and testified about the location data for Alex and Lori, as well as some phone calls that were made. The judge ruled that his face could not be shown on the stream. I haven't looked back to see if his presentation was up there, but let's go through what he testified to. He was asked by the Gilbert PD to analyze Lori and Alex's call records and the location data for Alex's Google account, which was that Homer J. Maximus account. He was asked to look at the time frame from late September into early October. He explains cell towers now sometimes are made to blend in with the environment. For example, he showed a photo of a large cactus, but it's actually a cell phone tower. He was given addresses that were significant to the case. Those were Brandon's home, the townhomes in Rexburg, specifically 107 and 175. Those are Lori and Alex's units. The storage facility there in Rexburg, the Walmart in Idaho Falls, and Melaniese's house in Gilbert, Arizona. He confirmed that the burner phone was connected to Alex's Gmail account. He explains you have to give permission for location history to be activated on your Google account. And then the track phones. These are the phones you can get at Walmart. I've seen them sold at gas stations. When law enforcement is investigating track phones, they have to go to Verizon to see the call detail record. And in order to see the point of purchase and the subscriber information, you have to go to track phone. So two separate places they have to get their information from. For Alex's personal phone, he shows the Wi-Fi connections on September 25th, 2019 at that Walmart in Idaho Falls. He explains that just because it showed Alex's Wi-Fi connections in that Walmart, it doesn't mean Alex actually connected to the Wi-Fi. If your Wi-Fi is switched to on, if there is a public network available, it will show that you were within the range of a Wi-Fi network. Alex's personal phone is in Walmart between 7:07 and 7:16 p.m. He bought the phone at 7:10. For Lori's phone at 7:08 p.m., she pinged in that same Walmart in Idaho Falls. While she was there, she had two incoming calls, one of those being from Melanice. She called about the time Alex was buying that burner phone, and the duration of that call was over 10 minutes. The next day, September 26, 11:33 p.m., Alex is inside his apartment with the burner phone. September 30th, that's the day he leaves Idaho for Arizona. For his regular phone between 4:32 and 4:37 p.m. on September 30th, it shows that phone is inside his apartment. 4:34 to 4:36, his phone moves to Lori's apartment or within about 15 meters. 4:38 to 11:59 p.m., there were 90 different records for Alex's personal phone, and it puts that device in Lori's apartment. That phone either stays at her apartment or with Lori until Alex returns from Arizona. Earlier in the day, at 12:34 p.m., Alex's burner phone is in Rexburg, and he gets an incoming call from Chad Daybell. October 1st, 9:19 a.m., the burner phone is in Arizona. There is an outgoing call to Chad Daybell. 2:56 to 2:59 p.m. on October 1st, the day before the shooting, we start to see movement of Alex's regular phone there in Rexburg because Lori had it. From 3:10 to 3:36 p.m., That phone is at the storage unit at the same time. Lori is there, seen on surveillance, renting that unit. Starting at 3:24 p.m., there were two incoming calls from Melanice to Lori. This is while Lori is still at the storage unit. At 5:17 p.m., Alex's regular phone is pinged at the Rexburg Temple. Let's go through the morning of the shooting, October 2nd. Between 7:02 and 7:18 a.m., Alex's burner phone is using cell towers in the area of Melanice's house. At 7:18, it shows Alex's burner phone is utilizing a cell tower closer to Brandon's residence. Between 7:22 and 7:24, his burner phone uses two separate cell phone towers, and those towers are consistent with being in the area of Brandon's residence in Gilbert, Arizona. Now, back in Idaho, at 8:02 a.m. Arizona time, there is an outbound call from Alex's regular phone to Lori's phone for a 23-minute duration. They're both using the same cell tower for the townhomes. Alex's phone stays at Lori's place the entire day. Between 8:39 and 9:16 a.m., Alex is near Brandon's residence. Now, in this time frame, there are several incoming and outgoing calls between Alex and Chad. Back in Idaho, but this is on Arizona time, between 8:50 and 9:46 a.m., Lori's phone is in the townhomes. At 8:50 a.m., Lori calls Chad. At 8:53 a.m., Lori calls Melanice, and that call duration is 35 minutes. At 9:01 a.m., there is an incoming call from Chad to Lori. At 9:13 a.m., the shooting occurs, and that burner phone is still in the vicinity of Brandon's house. 9:17 a.m., the burner phone is facing north, but there is a shift at 9:19 a.m. to a southeast direction. 9:22, there is a tower switch southeast of Brandon's home, and Alex would be moving south-southeast at this point. As the morning goes on, he travels further in a south-southeast direction. 9:22 a.m., there is an outgoing call from Chad to Alex. Between 9:44 and 9:45 a.m., there is an incoming call from Chad. Now, what's interesting to me, and this is something I did not know until today, or if I heard it, I totally forgot it, but Lori calls Melanice at 8:53 a.m., and that lasts 35 minutes. Between Lori and Melanice being on the phone and Alex and Chad's communications, as well as Chad communicating with Lori, they all were talking in some capacity or communicating with each other before, during, and after the attempt on Brandon. Moving on to 1:22 p.m., Alex's burner phone is northeast of Phoenix, and at 7:53 p.m., his burner phone is in Utah. At 8:12 p.m., there is an incoming call from Chad that lasted almost 30 minutes, and that was the last call on that burner phone. There were additional calls after this, but they didn't populate, so they went to voicemail, and the witness said the phone was not on the network anymore. The next day, October 3rd, 2019, at 2:13, Lori and Alex are seen removing that spare tire and the rear seat from the storage unit. And at 2:15 p.m., Alex's regular phone is at that storage unit. Between 2:20 and 2:22, Lori is at the townhouse and she gets a call from Chad. On cross, Lori asked, if all of your locations are on different phones, which one would it track? Like if you have 3 phones and all of the locations are set to on, what would it be tracking? The witness said each device has a device tag, and it would differentiate between devices individually, and it would show where each phone was at that given time. Lori asked who sent him the information from Google. The witness said that those came from a search warrant out of Rexburg, Idaho. He doesn't know who authored that report, and they're usually sent through email. Lori asked if this report was sent with 1 or 2 emails. The witness said when they have larger files, they may send it electronically, like through a file transfer site that can handle those files that are just huge. And he thinks that these records were likely sent through a transfer platform versus email. Lori asked, if you don't know who you got it from, how do you know that it's accurate? The witness said the first thing he would do was look at the certificate of authenticity and make sure the report was from Google. She asked if he had any way to know if that report was altered before he got it, and he does not. Lori, you say you get the information from Google. Would it be different if you had the phone itself? The witness said they're not looking at what comes off the phone. They really look at the records from the providers that are maintained separately. Lori asked, is it typical to have more than one device associated with your Google account? And the witness says, in this day and age, yes. People have multiple devices that access one account. Lori says, but you can't put a person anywhere. The witness said it's not an estimated location for the person he's looking for, it's the device. Lori says if you give a teenager your phone and that phone is on your email and the teenager is at an amusement park going on rides, it would make it seem like you're there when you're not. Again, the witness said he can't put a person anywhere. He is only locating the device. Lori, you said on October 3rd at 2:15, the device was at the storage unit. Was that the track phone? The witness said no, that was Alex's regular phone. Lori, did the track phone give a location in Rexburg after October 3rd? And the witness said no. The last time it showed the phone being used was when Alex was in Utah. That was in the evening hours, and that device was southeast of Salt Lake City. Lori asked if the phone would need to connect to Walmart Wi-Fi, and the witness said no, it doesn't have to. As long as it pops up as an available network, Google will know that Wi-Fi is enabled, and it's going to log that you were in the vicinity of a Wi-Fi network. Lori asked if you can track someone walking around Walmart. The witness said it's a stretch to say you could pinpoint a particular aisle, but if it's a really big Walmart, you might be able to tell they're in a certain section, but the margin of error would need to be really small to estimate, and it depends on the record itself whether or not he could determine what part of the store a device may be in. Lori, if you have the device, you could pinpoint that accurately. The witness said it depends on the apps you're running. Also, different phones store information differently. It depends on if you're doing a forensic download of the phone. And Lori asked if comparing that to the Google information and the phone, would it give you a more accurate location? And the witness said it just doesn't guarantee any more accuracy. The witness goes on to say that population density can affect your location. Downtown Phoenix, for example, it's a smaller area. Open areas are just more large and harder to really pinpoint where a device is within that margin of error. Lori asked if a phone was in a car driving around, would it show the movement? So the witness gives an example and says if the phone pings at 9 a.m. and it doesn't ping again until 9:30, he cannot say that the phone was moving within those 30 minutes. On redirect, the state asked, did the record seem to be authentic and unaltered? Yes. So we move into closings. Trina K, fantastic job. Who would you want to kill you? Officer Rob asked Brandon that question. Detective Pillar asked Brandon that question, and he gave the same answer. Lori Vallow and Alex Cox. He thought it had to do with an incident in July in Chandler just before this. He said Lori previously lived in Texas and the Jeep used was from Texas. He told them what happened. The Jeep parked unusually close to his driveway waiting. Texas license plates, no spare tire, and the window went up. He saw a muzzle, heard the bullet shattering the window right next to his ear. They play the audio clip in court of when the shot happened. You don't see anything, you only hear it. I was at home when this was initially played, but I have to tell you, most of us jumped when that shot rang out. It was so loud. Brandon drove off and called 911, and he was panting in panic. Her co-conspirator also drove off, immediately calling her soon-to-be husband, Chad, and Googling a way to get to Idaho Falls through back roads. The names Brandon gave were correct, but he had no idea the planning that went on prior to October 2nd. The majority of the premeditation occurred in Idaho. She goes through a timeline. June 25th, 2019. He hears that Lori has been feeding lies to his wife. He was accused of hacking into her computer. He was accused of being gay. He was accused of trying to take Lori's temple recommend away. He heard things from Charles, the defendant's husband at the time. Brandon texted Lori and said, "Why are you spreading these lies?" She didn't respond. The July 11th incident, Lori and Alex were there, and the Jeep was there. August 14th, Lori inquires about a townhouse in Rexburg. And on August 14th, Lori fills out rental applications. In September, Melanice moved into her own residence and they put their marital home on the market. On September 13th, Brandon rented his home and only told a handful of people where he lived. Melanice asked for that address on September 17th and he gave it. The only one out of the handful of people who knew Brandon's address, who also knew the defendant, was Melanice. September 25th, Brandon moves in early in order to have his kids. September 23rd, Alex searches places to shoot. September 25th, he searches to have his windows tinted. And he had them tinted so dark that he could lie in wait, and he pays $200. The Jeep already had tinted windows, so why get them tinted more? Also, on September 25th, Lori and Alex drive out of town to another Walmart to buy the burner phone. Her phone is in Idaho Falls talking to Melanice. September 26th, the burner phone is activated. And that same day, Melanice flies up to Idaho Falls. She has to be back Monday to get the kids. September 27th and 28th, Alex goes to the shooting range. And on September 29th, Melanice flies back to Arizona. September 30th, Alex's phone is in Lori's possession to make it look like he's still in Idaho. He has a burner phone. Nobody will know. The phone stays until Alex gets back on October 3rd. September 30th, 5:15 p.m., Lori searches how to remove back seat of a Jeep. Alex is still there. She's helping him get ready. She has his phone, gives him her Jeep, and helping him make it more comfortable so he can lie and wait. And they have to remove the tire. Alex leaves Idaho, moving towards Arizona. At 8:10 p.m., the Jeep is seen on a license plate reader. There's no activity on the burner phone until he's in Arizona. October 1st, 9:19 a.m., Alex calls Chad Daybell. And at 1:12, he goes to a taco place. Also, October 1st, Lori rents the storage unit and has Alex's phone with her, providing that alibi because they don't know about the license plate readers, his Google account being connected to his burner phone, or that receipt. She goes on to show video of Lori alone at that storage unit. 7:52 p.m., Alex's burner phone Googles the address to Brandon's. Only 5 people knew. Lori's niece, the one she's like a mom to, being one. He also gets directions. They all know Brandon will meet Melanice to give the youngest child to her, and the others are at school. And Alex will be waiting for Brandon when he gets home. October 2nd, he Googles the address again. 7:02 to 7:17, Alex is near Melanice's house, and he also talks to Chad. At 7:25, Brandon leaves his home with his kids, and at 7:40, he drops off their youngest with Melanice, but she doesn't know he's going to the gym to work out. At 8:40, a neighbor sees the Jeep. It's running. It had dark tinted windows, and it was parked on the wrong side of the road, nose to nose with a white van. Between 8:40 and 9:15 a.m., Alex waits at Brandon's. He's still calling Lori's husband, Chad. 8:02 a.m. Arizona time, Alex's phone calls Lori's, making the alibi. The fake call lasts for 24 minutes, and this is 1 hour before the shooting. 20 minutes before the shooting, Lori calls Melanice. Where's Brandon? 9:13, Brandon returns home, and Alex has been waiting for almost 2 hours, and Brandon is shot at. The Ring camera catches the back of Brandon's car, and you hear the gunshot. That timeline matches up to the 911 call. After missing Brandon, Alex takes off and looks for directions out of there. At 2:11, he searches for Holbrook, Arizona. 1:28 p.m., Lori and Chad put the tire and the seat in the storage unit. Then there are the searches from October 2nd. Lori and Alex search about news. Was Brandon shot? Did he live? She goes through them finding gunshot residue in the car as well as Alex's DNA. She goes through jury instructions in relation to the evidence and finishes up. Then it was Lori's time for closings. There were a lot of objections. I'm not going to go through them all because that would be about every third word. She starts out, when a family breaks apart, it's a tragedy. Devastation is far reaching. I'm not exempt from tragedy. None of us are. What we learn from it is the most important. Because of this, I studied the law and the judicial system, and that will stay with me forever. Through tragedy, we can grow stronger from these experiences, and it's not all negative. You would think people in my position would be defensive or angry. I don't feel any of those things. You've watched me under pressure, scrutiny, and attack. I can't be mad at people forced to watch your life through a distance or look through a lens that's distorted or limited, like the lens the state has shown you. There's a lot more going on, and the law prevents some things from being shared. You've seen opinions formed by strangers putting together a narrative. I've shown you there is no defense to what a person didn't do or participate in. This is a complex issue, but there is no agreement, no plan, and no gain. I am no stranger to tragedy, and the breaking up of a family is a tragedy. On June 25th, 2019, she starts crying here. She says, Brandon decided I was responsible for his family tragedy, and I'm sorry he feels that way. I did, and I have supported my niece when she suffered tragedy as a child and in this difficult time in 2019. We read the text from Brandon to me where he says he will never stop until he proves I'm responsible. Here we are 6 years later, and I'm charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Conspiracy is an agreement between two people. There was no such agreement between me and my brother, although I did love him. There was no agreement with me and Melanice. I love her. I can't tell you what happened that day because I wasn't there. At this point, Lori is admonished by the judge. He tells her that she cannot argue things that were not admitted into evidence. Lori continues, the prosecution wasn't there. Law enforcement wasn't there. Only Brandon knows what happened before he called 911. And only Brandon said he would not stop. The fact that I supported Melanice in a time of need doesn't make me against him. I had nothing to gain from him being hurt. Brandon has worked with law enforcement for almost 6 years to make sure I pay consequences. Your job is to determine if I committed this crime, a conspiracy, an agreement, not cleaning out a garage, but an agreement to commit murder. You didn't see or hear an agreement. Detective Duncan spent hundreds of hours going through my accounts, 19 years of records. If there was an agreement, they would have shown it to you. We've all experienced tragedies, and they want someone to pay a price. Alex is no longer here. We can't ask him about that day. There were things presented in this case that I didn't know. Because this is the theory the prosecution wants you to see. How can we say, when the law only allows a skewed view of things, the devastation this family has gone through is the tragedy? After almost 6 years, it's time for healing. So there were tons, y'all, of objections in there. I mean, probably every other sentence. I lost count. Miss Trina K gets up for rebuttal. She says, as Lori tries to project her innocence, she misrepresents what was presented at trial. She says there was no plan, but ignores the facts that show a very long plan. That plan started when she meddled in Melanice and Brandon's marriage. And when it was ending, Lori continued to help her niece, aiding her. What we see in each piece of evidence is a core group of people involved in this conspiracy. Lori, Alex, Melanice, and Chad. The four of them working together. Look at what is going on, and it screams a conspiracy by Lori, Alex, Melanice, and Chad Daybell to kill Brandon Boudreaux. Every action you see, and she recounts a lot of the actions that Lori and Alex both did. That's the plans, the assisting, the promoting, and conspiracy she doesn't want you to believe exists. We don't need words. The actions are obvious by her and her co-conspirators. And as much as she wants to cry up here, the evidence shows she's guilty. And that was pretty much it for rebuttal. It went a little deeper, but it was a little bit repetitive of the original closing arguments. And then they picked the three alternates. Those were jurors number 3, 16, and 7. And it looks like the deliberating jurors, 7 women and 5 men. So we are on verdict watch. Again, I will keep you posted every step of the way tomorrow. We will see what happens. I kind of predict a quick verdict. So that is it for today. Hope you guys have a good rest of your evening, and we will see you soon.